Sometimes what starts off as a joke amongst friends quickly turns into something very real, especially when your friends are weirdo art kids like mine who will jump at any opportunity to push aside other responsibilities in favor of picking up some strange new project. And that is exactly how my latest project, Mek Mew, came to be. Let me explain. Oh, real quick, sorry. If this is your first time here, hi, I'm Witty. It's so nice to meet you. I am a full-time internet goblin on a mission to cultivate creativity and community through making and sharing weird art and games. Welcome. So Berserker Works, aka Bill, aka True Bill, aka Good Bill, made a game called Mek28. In it, you build your own mech, something 4 inches or taller in the 28 scale. It's fast, it's fun, it's free, and it really encourages players to make something different. Now, your mech isn't required to be a Pokemon, but Bill discovered that the Bandai Pokemon kits are the perfect size for Mek28. So it started off as a joke, turned into a full-blown event. I think we had, I want to say 10 mechs in total. Either way, they're beautiful and we all brought them to battle it out at Adepticon. And I would love to show you how I made mine. So first off, I grabbed 2 kits because spare parts are always handy, but also because I immediately had a vision. I wanted Mew's face to open up, like something out of Ghost in the Shell. I got a box of old anime from a yard sale as a child, some for kids, some not so much, but all of it was wildly influential on me and the art that I like. Here I am using my nice new clippers that were a crazy generous gift that ended up in my P.O. box. Thank you, DeWare. I ended up mostly putting a Mew together and then splitting the faceplate of the second down the middle. I chopped off poor Mew's hands to make room for guns and gave her a second set of hands. I took what I think is a gun plug bit and turned it into an eyepiece and started mapping out wires to cover the interface with. I started setting wires with hot glue because apparently I don't learn my lesson, and I later removed it and instead filed down the entire model for texture and grippiness before supergluing those wires. In one of my bits drawers is a handful of wires from chargers and electronics no longer in use. I made a point to file down the eye holes to really rough them up. I looked over some orc sprues and I found some nice bits to use, as well as taking some of the pieces from that build your own roller coaster kit to make handguns. Not handguns, but like guns for hands, you know what I mean. I covered the little foot pads with these bits because I figured maybe those could be little guns too. She's got a little spiky back piece as well as some control panels on her base. And more guns. Yeah, she has a lot of guns. I thought that this orc bit could be a nice little fuel tank of some kind. I used some wire to give it a connection to the base. Rivets. Gotta have rivets. For those, I rolled a green stuffed snake and set it aside to harden. While waiting for that, I fixed some small details and made sure to sand down the body more to get a worn texture, but also to help when it came time to paint this bad boy. I brushed off all my filings and grabbed my texture paste to get that base looking nice and gritty. I like to use spatulas or really ratty old brushes for texturing. Everyone give a salute to this very old brush's last act of service before it was finally retired to a farm out in the country. Okay, now my green stuffed snake was hard, and I think I just invented a new sentence when I said that. Anyways, I carefully sliced off rivets like I was slicing ham at the deli, trying not to have them fly all across the room. Spoiler alert, so many of them flew across the room. Is it possible to glue rivets without just gluing yourself or dropping them into the wrong spot? Once the rivets were on, I went in with some good old super glue and baking soda and grimed it up a bit more. I also went in with Milliput and connected that back piece fully. I also used it to make some little lumps and bumps as well. It was still overall pretty smooth at this point, and I wanted it to look like maybe she'd been repaired over and over as time's gone on. Then I added a little chain to the gun because chains are cool. It felt like something was missing, so I crumpled up some aluminum foil, aluminium depending on where you're from, and I added those for texture. For me, playing with different textures is one of my favorite ways to elevate a piece and give it a little bit more narrative. And just like that, it was time to prime. Priming. The beautiful step in a process where you take a deep breath and hope that it all comes together. And you know what? In this project, it did. I'm definitely prone to being self-critical and am no stranger to imposter syndrome, but I really like this. I mixed up some pink using, I think it's volupus, I don't know how to say it, contrast paint with some white. I also used Turbo Dork 6 Shooter for the inner head and some Bubblegum Crisis later for some subtle shimmer in the pink. I was gonna lore time as paint time, but if it's alright with you, I'd like to chat nostalgia about Pokemon for a little bit while I paint up this cutie. Now, I'm of a certain age where Pokemon was really, really influential in my childhood. It was the first world I ever encountered that I didn't just enjoy, I longed to be part of. I'd fantasize about putting together my perfect team, loyal companions I would train and protect and grow beside. It was so magical, the idea of leaving your current life behind for adventure, knowing your Pokemon would always keep you safe. My brothers and I traded cards, begged to go to McDonald's when they had those Pokeball toys with gold-plated Pokemon cards inside, and were adamant that we all have different starters. Mine was Bulbasaur. And we'd spend hours outside pretending to either be or to training Pokemon. We were obsessed. When it came time to look over available Pokemon kits, I knew I had to go with Mew. Looking at that psychic pink cat brought back a very distinct memory, so I saved up money from birthday cards and odd jobs and I bought a used copy of Pokemon Yellow for my Game Boy. Before starting my own adventure, I looked to see what was on the previous save and oh, I was so surprised to see a Mew in the party. This was a Pokemon that you could only get through glitch-prone game sharking or, in the case of my game, received at a special event. I was thrilled, I couldn't believe it. But then, one day, on a long car ride, my little brother asked if he could check out my Pokemon. I told him he could, under strict order not to mess with my save whatsoever, and wouldn't you know it, that little shit deleted my save, and the fight that ensued almost got Pokemon banned from our house entirely. I brought it up to my mom, she still remembers this fight. I think Mew is overlooked sometimes because they're a tiny little cutie, but they're a seriously tough Pokemon, and I wanted to make them even tougher. With guns. There's something so special about a franchise that so many generations have a version that they grew up with. And I'm lucky enough that I've seen them all. I can remember when certain Pokemon games came out and where I was in my life. I didn't play them all, and I'm absolutely confused by how many Pokemon exist now, but I never really got over it. I saw Detective Pikachu with my little brother, and I'm not gonna lie, I cried a little. It brought back memories of seeing the original Pokemon movie in theaters with my brothers, and I definitely cried then too. I guess no matter how much time goes by, there's always going to be a little version of Woody who is just waiting to grab her Pokedex and put together a team and go out and see the world. With Mew looking battle ready, it was time to get her and myself all packed and ready for Adepticon. Would she be the best like no one ever was? Adepticon was a blast and I can't wait to talk about it more in an upcoming video. But about the mech battle, did I win? No, I did not win, not even close. The battle was a brutal one. Trent suggested that we teamed up, a tricky but sometimes advantageous strategy in a battle royale. After hearing his best friend's song, I accepted, only to be brutally backstabbed pretty much immediately. Like in the second round. You think you know somebody, you know? But in the end, he was taken out by Tyler, as was everybody else. Tyler, of course, won. And with that won the coveted Mek28 trophy. So I guess justice was kind of served. The Pokemeks were glorious. It was one thing to watch them all come together through progress pictures, but seeing them lined up brought me so much joy. We'll have to pick a theme for next year's mechs. I've been rereading the rules and strategizing, and I got a good feeling about next year. I really do. I also want to say thank you to Bill for making Mek28 and bringing us all together to do something so fun and so silly and so nostalgic. It actually introduced me to some really great new friends and was an absolute highlight of Adepticon for me. It's also been really cool to watch people make their own versions of Mek28, like Hex28, that Elle and that backstabber Trent put together. It looks really cool. No, it genuinely looks really cool. And I've heard that that's not the only version of Mek28 that's being made, so keep your eye out. And of course, thank you so much to the Goblin Gang and my Patreon supporters for making this possible, but also making my trip to Adepticon possible. I'm so, so grateful. Next year, I promise to win and make y'all very, very proud. All right, well, it's a beautiful day outside, and I'm gonna go prime some minis, but thank you guys so much. I'll catch you in the next one, and until then, don't forget that you are currently making the world a better place just by being you. It's like your superpower. So keep doing that. Bye, guys.